And even just to talk about just a little bit about your pregnancy, how was that like? Like, how was that journey like in terms of like, obviously when you found out that you got pregnant and like during those 9 months, like how was that like for you?
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that like a real journey?
It was a whole madness.
It's a whole madness.
Yeah.
Now I hear you though, obviously because you said like when you got pregnant, this is when obviously, you know, this began, innit? But just, go on.
Oh yeah, so basically I moved out of my dad's house when I was 18. I was staying with my aunt, and then I was 19 then, and then I'm 19 and pregnant. Also, I'm the last person anyone will think would be pregnant because I was always like on job with stuff that I was doing, this, that, and the other. And then also it was a situation where it was toxic, but I didn't realize it was toxic because we weren't shouting and stuff. But because there was a lot of manipulation, it was just like I was someone that I'm very understanding, so I was just listening to excuses instead of taking them as facts. And then outside of that, as well with my pregnancy, I had HGV, hypergravidum thing. I've forgotten how to say it properly.
Yeah.
The full thing, but it's HGV is basically like morning sickness on steroids. So for a month straight, I couldn't even go work. I could barely leave the house. When I tried to go get help from like the maternity ward, they were like, "You're not past 12 months pregnant, so we can't do anything for you." I called 111, had to go to the place to get checks done. They said I was severely dehydrated. For me to even get the tests done to see what's wrong with me, I couldn't even hold down water. That's how bad it was, because I'll throw it back up. And they barely gave me any help. And then I think later on they might have just given me some tablets or whatever. But I dealt with that most of my pregnancy. Getting to the end, it got a bit better. But yeah, going to work, because at that time I was at Croydon and I was working in Central. So I had to change up at Brixton. By the time I get to Brixton, I would have thrown up. I always had a bottle on me. So almost every day to work, I literally had to go through that. But then once I was going through that, I was going through stuff with my son's dad and stuff. And then I was just seeing the disrespect. And then I had to say, getting to the end of my pregnancy, before I was going to give birth, I was just like, you know what, we can just co-parent and then move like that. And also with that, I'll say from the ending of my pregnancy to the first couple of months when I gave him birth was when I would say I actually started to properly address the root causes of the, I would say people pleasing, just to use a vague word, but more of a thing of not knowing how to set boundaries with people and not knowing how to advocate for myself.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want people to be uncomfortable. I didn't want people to feel like I was judging them. But the thing is, you can still state what the expectation and the standard you have without, I wouldn't say caring how it, I'm not saying not caring how it affects others, but it's not about them. It's about you, your standard,
absolutely,
and the level at which you expect people to come into your life and show up. And it's also making sure that you uphold that standard as well. Because one thing I'd realised was that the reason why I was allowing excuses from like my son's dad and stuff was because I was making excuses for myself with little things where I wasn't like fully committing to the things that I said I was going to do. So because I was making excuses for myself, and I can understand, so you too, you know, I can understand your own, how you're not showing up.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, is that thing of accountability as well, with how we show up within ourselves, for ourselves, with the little promises and stuff. Because then that goes on to how we hold other people to account within our life. So it's like the standard that you set for yourself. Sometimes the reason why you have a low standard for other people is because you have a low standard for yourself.
And you can always be a mirror as well. That's why I'm starting to understand that.
Yeah, because it's like, if I can hold myself to a high standard and I can be disciplined, I don't need to accept your rubbish because it's possible.
Exactly.
And it's not, I'm not doing it because it's easy. I'm doing it because I'm choosing to do it.